Right. Hello. Okay, this afternoon we are going to tackle chapter 3 of our topic. Now, if you try to look at your syllabus, now you consider chapter 3, which is about the challenges in teaching. Right. Now, this chapter is focused on the different challenges of teachers, either local or global. Now, this starts with addressing cultural diversity, responding to the needs of special learners, handling class size, dealing with learners with various talents and intelligence, and integrating ICT in teaching and the learning process. Right. Now, so the objectives of this chapter is to analyze the challenges for teachers in addressing cultural diversity, responding to the needs of special learners, handling class size, dealing with learners with various talents and intelligences, and integrating ICT in teaching and learning process, and discuss best teaching practices on how teachers met the different challenges they encounter and experience in school. All right. Now, we have here the different challenges that teachers uh, encounter. Right. One, we have the multilingual and multicultural classrooms. Number two, the learner-centered and constructivist teaching. Then we have the multiple classes, ICT integration, brain-based education, right? Multiple intelligences and children with special needs. So these are the different challenges in teaching. Right, now let us go to challenge number 1. Now that is teaching in multicultural and multilingual classroom. Right. Now when you say multicultural education, it is an interesting and important topic for teachers because multicultural education does not only concern itself with cultural minority groups and indigenous people, but for every learner in school. Learners are different in terms of language, religion, ethnicity, belief, nationality, and culture. No? And learners differ in, as what I have said, they differ in terms of language, religion, ethnicity, belief, nationality, and culture. No? Right. Now, each learner in the class may be a member of a cultural group and have different religion, speaks a different language, or behave differently. Right. Now, every day, they bring this diversity and individual difference in the classroom. So teachers are challenged to use pedagogical approaches that are culturally relevant and responsive. So they are encouraged to develop instructional materials and curriculum models that are culturally inclusive. Right. So we have another big issue and challenge in multicultural setting is language. So language plays an important role in the teaching and learning process in real life. So in learning process, so in real life, education and society are inseparable because education is a social activity that is important for all human beings. Right? So we have here several instructional strategies that can be utilized in addressing cultural diversity in the classroom. Right? So we have content integration. Right? This means that cultural practices, cultural values, history and respect for cultural diversity can be integrated in the various contents of the subject taught in basic education. So that refers to the content of the different subjects which are being taught in basic education. When you say basic education, this refers to the elementary and the secondary. Okay, next we have cultural immersion. Now, students can be immersed in different culture. So this will allow the students to observe the life of other people and to have a first-hand experience of their culture and values. No? So you will be meeting here people with different cultures and values that is in cultural immersion. Right. Next, celebrating cultural diversity. Now, similar to what we do in the UN month celebration and in the Linggo ng Wika, students can experience and enjoy different cultural dance, folk literature, music, visual arts, and costume. All right, next, culture responsive pedagogy. So teachers here are pedagogical method or use pedagogical method, approaches, and techniques that respect the cultural values, cultural mindset, and cultural practice of the learners. Okay? And then we have teaching local culture. Teachers will introduce local culture to students through lecture, fora, and symposia. Right? And we have using the local language as medium of instruction. Now, teachers here need to support the implementation of the mother tongue based multilingual education program of the Department of Education. Now, they should help in the development of instructional materials for teaching local language and culture to the students. So that's why we have what we call the mother tongue. No? Right. So these are the six examples of things that can promote cause of multicultural education. Or these are the several instructional strategies that can be utilized in addressing cultural diversity in the classroom. No? Now, since the Philippines is a home of various indigenous groups, now the 1987 Philippine Constitution encouraged the state to provide an education that is relevant to their culture and indigenous practices of these indigenous people. No? Right, so we have here uh, several approaches that can be used to integrate indigenous knowledge in the curriculum. Okay, number one is the real life story model. Real life story model. So here, an indigenous knowledge is embedded in the daily life experience of the young children as they grow. They live and grow in a society where indigenous knowledge is interwoven into the lives of the people. So parents or old folks serve as teacher. So the lessons here are related to the values and struggles of the people. Okay. So another one, problem-based approach. So we have the problem-based approach. So here, learners are exposed to different lessons in problem solving. So by doing problem solving activities, here the learners are exposed to some practical situation or issues that are important to them and to their community. Okay, number three, the next is, now we have here the inviting local folks and community leaders as resource person to school. So here, um, this will allow community leaders and elders to share the knowledge and wisdom to the students. No? So you will be inviting speakers here, like community leaders and elders, where they are going to impart their knowledge and wisdom to the students. Okay, next is developing instructional materials for teaching indigenous knowledge. No? So here, teachers can develop modules, worksheets, and learning kits that will help introduce local history, community values, and indigenous knowledge of the community to the learners. So this is one of the challenges that a teacher may encounter. No? Now you have there the multilingual and multicultural classrooms. Okay. Now let's go to teaching children with special needs. Now we have here what you call special education, which is an area in education that seeks to understand the nature and needs of different learners with special needs. No? As a field of study, these train teachers and other professionals to respond to needs of special learners in terms of pedagogy, curriculum, and form of educational intervention. So here in a regular classroom, now we can only observe students with learning difficulties, students with physical disabilities, now students with behavioral problems, and students who are gifted. So with the help of the scholars and practitioners in this field of special education, now we have come to realize and learn that special learners can be classified in different ways. So providing the needs of these special education learners will certainly be one of the greatest challenge of every teacher. So most teachers, either in public or private schools, are not equipped to handle special learners. So responding to the needs of each special learners cannot be addressed by teachers' years of teaching experiences. So this requires special training in the field of special education. So a special education teacher needs to have deep devotion, commitment, and passion to teach special learners. They need to work closely with co-teachers, parents, and other professionals in order to understand the nature, behavior, and needs of their learners. So that is teaching in special with special needs. No? Okay, next, another challenge we have the teaching of multi-grade classes, right? So when you say multi-grade teaching, now this involves the teaching of students from different grade levels in one classroom. So meaning like for example in your classroom, now you will be teaching grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 students now. Now this requires teachers to develop a skills in handling different students' behavior and in addressing their needs and interests. It necessitates teachers to employ effective instructional method and strategy and apply in efficient ways of classroom management. So the teacher here must be resourceful, creative, patient, and wise and innovative. Right. Now, it also requires teachers' versatility to design an instructional plan that will cover all topics, no, and activities for all students from varying grade levels. Like for example, in some private schools, now multi-grade teaching is done when they have small enrollment. In this case, classes could be smaller and can be financially cheaper to operate than a complete school. So the teacher here assigned in one multi-grade class is required to develop separate worksheets and design different activities for its grade level. No? So if you are a teacher assigned to this class, kinanglan mahimo giti mo kang ano, mahimo giti mo kang separate worksheets and design of different activities for each grade level. Right. Now, multi-grade teachers in public schools like teachers missionaries in far communities. They are strong advocates of students' access to quality education. So the teacher in a multi-grade class should be able to perform a multitask for all the grade levels in the classroom. So no matter what subject is being learned, the teachers are expert facilitators of the learning process. So they will be bringing the magic of learning in their classes. They plan effective lessons for their students and monitor students' progress, motivate students to learn. So they must be resourceful, creative, patient, wise, and innovative. Okay, so that is teaching in a multi-grade classes. Okay, next, teaching in multi-intelligence classroom. So that this is another challenge in teaching where you are going to teach in a multi-intelligence classroom. All right. Now, the idea of learners having multiple intelligence came from the research of the famous Harvard University professor by the name of Howard Gardner. No? Now, Gardner published his book titled Frames of Mind that presented the concept of multiple intelligence. No? So we have here the different human capacities. Right. So we have here the types of intelligence. Now that is according to the Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Now according to this theory, there are different separate human capacities. And we have here the different types of intelligence. We have the intrapersonal, interpersonal, existential, visual, linguistic, logical or mathematical, kinesthetic, no? Musical, and naturalist. All right. Now, what is linguistic intelligence? Now, when you say linguistic, this is the ability to analyze information and create products involving oral and written language. No? Now, you can apply this in your English class. And then you have logical or mathematical intelligence, which is the ability to develop equations and proofs, make calculations, and solve abstract problems. Okay, another one is spatial intelligence, ability to recognize and manipulate large-scale and fine-grained spatial images. Di, diba tapos baya ka stop sharing then. Then we have okay, so we have spatial intelligence, which is the ability to recognize and manipulate large-scale and fine-grained spatial images. And then we have the musical, which is the ability to produce remember and make meaning of different patterns of sound. Now this is applied to music, no? Right? Then we have the naturalistic intelligence, the ability to identify and distinguish among different types of plants, animals, and weather formation that are found in the natural world. What ang tatlong diya kanu? Okay, so let's go to uh, bodily kinesthetic, no? Which is the ability to use one's own body to create products or solve problems. Right, then interpersonal intelligence, the ability to recognize and understand other people's mood, desires, motivation, and intention. No? So this multiple intelligence theory become a powerful force that pushes many educators and schools to radically change the educational system. Right. Then let's go to teaching in a learner-centered and constructivist classroom. Gagawa ng ano yan? Ang presentation. Right. Learning-centered education refers to a kind of education that considers the knowledge, skills, abilities, attitudes, interests, and beliefs that the learners bring into the classroom. It provides learners social and emotional development, which is equally important aspect in uh, planning the curriculum. Right. Now, constructivism is a theory of learning that explains that knowledge is constructed based on the prior knowledge and experiences of the learner. No? Humans are viewed as goal-directed against who actively seek knowledge and information. So this believes that learners come to formal education with range of prior knowledge, skills, beliefs, and concepts that significantly influence what they notice about the environment and how they reorganize and interpret it. Huh? Right. So in a learner-centered education, this provides learners with social and emotional development, which is an equally important aspect in planning the curriculum. Right. Then another one, we have the brain-based education. This is another significant challenge to teachers to understand and apply the principles of brain-based education. It was brought by research on neuroscience, which provides several ideas on how the human brain function and learn. Ano, dali naman tapos siya. Last na. In the brain-mind learning principles, now this derive from brain research findings and apply these principles in the classroom. So, according to this principle, the brain is a whole system and includes physiological, emotion, imagination, and predisposition. Another one, the brain developed in relationship to interaction with the environment and with others. Next, a quality of being human is the search for personal meaning, and people create meaning, full thought, perceive certain patterns of understanding. Right? Emotions are critical to the pattern people perceive. The brain processes information in both parts and wholes at the same time. Learning includes both focused attention and peripheral output input. Learning is both unconscious and conscious. Information is organized differently in memory, and learning is developmental. So the brain makes optimal number of connection in a support but challenging environment. Perception of three inhibiting learning, and every brain is unique in its organization. Okay, so the next we have the last, the ICT integration in teaching and learning. No? Now the term in ICT, which is short for information and communication technology, embraces all forms of technology that enables all people to receive information and um, communicate or exchange information with others. So at the instruction level, the use of ICT in teaching and learning brought many development in the way teachers teach and how students learn. Now, basically, computer software enhance teachers and students presentation, reports, and lecture. No? Right. So, at the instructional level, the use of ICT in teaching and learning brought many positive development in the way teachers teach and how students learn. Basically, computer software enhance teachers and students' performance, presentation, reports, and lecture. So through ICT integration in education, valuable information in all different areas of life and in all academic disciplines are made accessible to learners and teachers. So here the students and teachers become active researchers engaged in a virtual world of ideas. They search the web for whatever information they need. They experience to interact with other scholars, students, and individuals through emails, blogs, chat, social networking, and teleconferencing. So the growing influence of ICT is almost every aspect of life, made ICT literacy essential among all teachers and students. So here in our country, the students are taught about computer as early as elementary, although exposure to ICT already starts in the preschool level. So ICT skills are part of the 21st century skill that must be developed among students to become globally competitive. So it is therefore imperative for teachers to integrate ICT in their daily teaching. No? So they also need to teach their students to use ICT responsibly and observing media ethics, using information from internet responsibly, and respecting the privacy of the individual. So that is another challenge. So those are the different challenges that the teacher may face. No? So, to summarize, we have the multilingual and multicultural classrooms, learn-centered and constructivist classroom, multi-grade classes, the ICT integration, the brain-based education, multiple intelligences, and children with special needs. Okay, so that is all about challenges in teaching.